Do you feel like every year we're handed goals that we're supposed to be doing? We need to improve ourselves, become healthier, become more fit. All of these things are given to us. But what if we start working on our self-love goals and take ownership of our own stories, deciding what is best for us, what we want to add to our lives, what we want maybe move away from, and think about how we want to grow as a person over the next year. Last year, I used a lot of literature, reflection, and even ChatGPT, an AI tool, to inspect what I thought was working well in my life and things that I also wanted to work on. And it was not about reinventing myself and becoming a new person. It was more about focusing on what was good for me instead of having goals given to me or social media telling me what I needed to fix. These goals stuck, and it was because they were personalized goals that were meant for me and for my own growth. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and this is Strong Women, Strong Stories, a place where we explore stories, especially stories about strong women, to help us grow and choose ourselves and have a more fulfilling life. I'm not going to be doing academic book reviews or provide you a 5-step makeover plan to make your life more fulfilling. My intention for this channel is to share with you stories that I've been reading and stories that have helped me reflect on what I'm working on. And those reading literature and spending time with those characters in the book have made me feel supported in what I'm trying to do in my life. It helped me with improving my self-talk, increasing my self-love, and it helped me keep going when things started getting really tough. Today we will talk about what self-love goals really are, how to use tools like ChatGPT to discover insights, to brainstorm, and to create a plan for your next year. And then we'll talk about the book, Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. What if setting your goals could be more about reframing and thinking about you and self-love? What I don't want to do is to have you set goals that are about completely changing yourself. We don't want to turn our backs on our past. What we want to do is look at what we're doing and make some changes for the future that is more about taking ownership of our stories. Goals are clarity. They are saying yes to what matters and no to what drains you. Setting goals is how you tell yourself, I matter enough to plan for. But you know what else will happen? The people around you will start to notice that you have taken control of your life. What you'll also feel at the end of the year is satisfaction, that you focused on things that matter to you, and you also removed things that were distractions, causing chaos, and just not good for you. Self-love is not just feelings, it's direction. Without goals, we can fall into taking care of other people and focusing on their needs. We go back to old habits because it's easier and it feels comfortable. Or we just lock down into survival mode. I've had those days where I'm writing in my journal and reflecting on what I've enjoyed in the past day, and I really can't write anything. I honestly just made it through the day. I didn't enjoy anything during the day. So when you set a goal, it's a boundary with yourself saying, my life is worth shaping. We are responsible for our own stories. We cannot rewrite the past, but we can write our next chapters. We decide what gets developed, what gets resolved, and what no longer serves us. Setting self-love goals is how we prioritize ourselves and step into the authorship of our life. Let's talk about putting yourself first without feeling guilty. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, even if it might feel uncomfortable at first. When you focus on self-love, you are actually being strategic, building resilience, protecting your relationships from resentment, and also preventing your own burnout. Goals give us permission. You don't have to wait for someone else's approval, the perfect timing, or an external validation to tell you you're on the right path. Setting a goal is saying, I don't need to earn the right to care about my life. Let's talk about how literature can shape our self-love. One reason why I love spending time reading stories is because the characters in the stories can show us growth in their stories and their lives that does not require perfection. Characters grow when they choose themselves, stop abandoning their inner truth, and take risks that align with who they are becoming. So many stories, the moment everything shifts is when a woman decides her life is worth choosing. Here are some gentle truths. Repeat after me if you want. I am allowed to want more without justification. I am enough, period, just as I am, not doing any improvements or not earning anyone's love. I am enough, period. Rest can be a goal. We're going to be doing a lot of changes in our lives, and resting is how we get ready to make those changes. If you're running on empty, it's going to be harder to make changes in your life. Another thing is peace can be a goal. And I found that this past year with spending time by myself and learning to be okay with that. On the other side, belonging can be a goal. Part of my goals last year was finding community, finding a place where I felt like I belonged and that I was valued. And lastly, on my list, definitely not lastly, is removing what doesn't serve me can be a goal. We're going to have to make some changes in our lives. If we are going to want more for ourselves, we're going to have to make space for that. And there are going to be things that we will need to remove so that we have that space to focus on us. As you're watching, I invite you to think about this. What gentle truths are you working on right now? In the book that I want to highlight today, Eleanor, Oliphant is completely fine. Eleanor does not start off wanting to change her life. She starts by just surviving her life. Her self-talk is telling her that she has enough, her life is normal, her routine and keeping to herself is safe, and that she doesn't need to go outside of that safe routine and the way her life is right now. Eleanor's self-talk feels protective. But what we don't sometimes realize is that we fail at our goals because what we're telling ourselves and our internal message is not matching where we're trying to head and what we're trying to change. We don't fail because we are lazy. We fail because we're not supporting ourselves. So what was Eleanor's turning point? Eleanor doesn't suddenly become confident or disciplined in a flash. What changes is that she starts questioning her inner narrative. Early in the book, Eleanor doesn't question her thoughts. Isolation feels proper, superior, and normal to her. By the middle of the book, Eleanor's inner story starts to clash with reality. She also experiences kindness that doesn't match her expectations. And then her explanations of what life is like begin to feel insufficient. Later in the book, she reflects on her past, identifies distortions in her thinking, allows other perspectives alongside her own. Eleanor becomes more flexible, more compassionate, and less absolute. How does Eleanor's story reflect on our goals? From Eleanor, I learned that growth is not sudden. And also, awareness comes before action. This is why self-love goals is not about discipline. It's not about trying harder, being more committed. It's about first making sure that your inner narrative is matching what you're trying to achieve. We start with noticing how we speak to ourselves. And that's where I think Eleanor really broke through, is when she started to edit her own inner narrative. Self-talk is really important when trying to make changes in your life. I have a visualization that I use that you may find helpful, but I encourage you to also think about creating your own. Mine is a dragon. And when I allow self-talk to be negative, when I'm having a challenge and the talk starts coming in that I'm not good enough, that I need to wait, that I'm too old, too tired, all the negative things that keeps me from reaching my goals. What I do is I reflect on this, I get grounded, and then I bring that dragon over to my side. And instead of being an enemy coming at me, the dragon has now come around and is sitting beside me. And together, the two of us are working towards the goals. And she's my protector, and she's here for me. That's just a simple thing that I do for myself. I encourage you either to steal it from me or come up with your own. What changes Eleanor isn't a dramatic life decision or a 5-step plan. It's when her inner voice stops being the only voice in the room. Most of us have one dominant inner narrative too. And if we're honest, it's not always kind. Eleanor learned to hear herself differently. I've been experimenting with using ChatGPT, not to tell me what to do, but to help me hear myself more clearly. Using ChatGPT to work through my goals helps me reframe my thoughts, interrupt my harsh self-talk, and helps me choose goals that support who I'm becoming. If you are in a season where you want to change without abandoning yourself, this is how I use ChatGPT. I've included a downloadable worksheet below to help you write your first prompt, but here are the basics. In your prompt, be clear about the role you want GPT to take. Here's an example. Act as my life coach. The next thing you do is you define what you're trying to achieve with chat. So you're giving chat instructions. An example would be, help me define 3 self-love goals. Now, just with that, chat, if you just do that, chat's going to give you very generic, it's going to try to probably people please based on what it thinks it knows about you. So what you want to do is add some context. And that would be information about your values, so that chat knows how to set goals for you. For me, it would be, I value learning and leadership and community. And then also explain your responsibilities, what's on your plate, and also what your challenges are. So, last year, one of the goals that I'm going to show you is that I had started running, but I really wanted to increase my speed and be able to finish a 5K without having to walk. So that was my challenge that I was trying to overcome. And then you want to choose a tone for chat. You can tell chat to be gentle, you can tell it to be direct, or you can ask it to be inspiring. Those are just some examples. Don't take this as this is exactly how to do it. What you want to do is try some things and then play around with it for a while, and you'll start to get used to using it. When you put all these pieces together, you'll have a prompt to work with chat on setting your goals. As an example, it may look like this. Act as my personal life coach who helps women set goals for personal growth. Help me clarify 3 to 5 meaningful goals that integrate my role as a professional, leader, and community builder. I value learning and connection, and I want a gentle, reflective approach. That's your script. You put it into ChatGPT and you're going to get some output. And then what you want to do is just keep iteratively working. You're going to give chat more information. You're going to clarify some things. You're going to ask it to take things out and add things in. And after you iterate, you're going to have those 3 to 5 goals. When you're happy with those goals, then you can ask chat. The next step is to take the goals and to create easy, I'm not going to say easy, manageable steps so that you can reach your goals. Here's an example of the output from ChatGPT when I asked it to create a manageable goal that had time set to it and steps. Your next year doesn't need a new version of you. It needs a kinder narrator. I've linked a free worksheet below to help you write your first ChatGPT prompt and begin shaping self-love goals that actually support your life. If all of this resonated with you, download the worksheet. Share your gentle truths in the comments and let me know which stories and books have influenced your self-growth. We are not starting over. We are turning the page.